Right now, as you are watching this, there is a clock running on your lavender, and it runs out at the end of this month. It started ticking the moment those first flower spikes began to fade, and what you do in the next few weeks decides two things: whether you get a second wave of bloom before the season ends, and whether your plant comes back next spring as a tight silver dome, or a woody, split-open mess with a bald patch in the middle. And here is the frustrating part. Most gardeners spend late summer doing exactly nothing to their lavender because it looks fine. It bloomed its heart out, the bees were all over it, why touch it now? That why touch it instinct is precisely where things go wrong. Lavender is one of the very few plants in your garden where August is not a rest month. It is the pivot month, and it is the last safe month. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the entire August playbook, step by step, in the order you should actually do it. How to read the signal your plant is giving you right now. The one cut that does two jobs at once, and the line your blades must never cross. The watering trap that quietly kills more lavender in late summer than any drought ever will. And a bonus move at the end that gets you free lavender plants for next year while you are at it. Stay with me, because the order matters as much as the steps. Let's get into it. Number 1, read the signal. Everything else hangs on this, so let's start here. Walk out to your lavender today and look closely at the flower spikes. Not the plant as a whole, the individual spikes. At their peak, each spike is a saturated violet or purple. The little buds are plump, and if you brush your hand across them, the scent almost jumps at you. But as the season winds down, the spikes change. The color dulls first, shifting from that rich purple toward a grayish, washed-out lilac. Then the tiny individual flowers start to drop or shrivel, and the spike begins to look more like a seed head than a bloom. Here is your working rule. When roughly half the spikes on the plant have made that shift, dried, past their peak, your window is open. Not when the plant is in full glorious bloom, and not when every last spike is brown and crispy. Half faded is the trigger. Now, because we are already in August, there's a good chance your plant is past that point. Maybe well past it, and the whole thing is looking spent. If that is you, do not panic, and do not decide you have missed the boat. You are late, but you are not too late. It just means your job this week is urgent, because every extra day the plant pours energy into ripening seed instead of building the new growth it needs before autumn. Watch the bees too. When they lose interest in a plant they were swarming 2 weeks ago, they are telling you the nectar is finished. The bees know before you do. Number 2, make the one cut that does two jobs at once. Once you have read the signal, it is time for the cut. And this is the single most important thing your lavender needs from you in August. So let's get it exactly right. Most people who do prune in late summer make one of two mistakes. Either they deadhead, snipping off just the spent flower stalks and nothing else, or they get ambitious and hack the plant back hard, cutting into the thick brown woody stems at the base. Deadheading alone is too timid. It tidies the plant but does nothing to stop it getting leggy. Cutting into the brown wood is fatal, and I mean that almost literally. Lavender, unlike a rose or a hydrangea, cannot reliably regrow from old wood. Those brown stems carry very few dormant buds. Cut into them, and you will often be staring at the same bare stumps next May, wondering why nothing came back. The correct August cut sits in between, and it does two jobs with one pass of the shears. Take a clean pair of secateurs or head shears and cut each stem so you are removing the spent flower stalk, plus about the top third of the green leafy growth beneath it. You are going deeper than a deadhead, but you are staying entirely in the soft, silvery green part of the stem where there are leaves. Look at any stem before you cut, and you will see the boundary clearly. Green and flexible above, brown and rigid below. Your blades never cross that line. As you work, shape the whole plant into a slightly rounded dome, a bit like a bread loaf or a hedgehog. Dome is not cosmetic. A domed lavender sheds winter rain instead of letting it pool in the crown. And it keeps the growth even so the plant does not splay open under its own weight in a year or two. Why does this cut matter so much right now? 2 reasons, depending on where you garden. In a warm climate with a long season, an early August cut is what triggers a genuine second flush of flowers. The plant responds to losing that top third by pushing fresh growth, and very often a new round of spikes in September. In a cooler climate, the second flush may be modest or may not come at all, but the cut matters just as much because done now, it still gives the plant 6 to 8 weeks to regrow and harden that new growth before the first frost. This is exactly why August is the deadline. Make the same cut in late September or October, and you send tender new shoots straight into the cold where they get burned off. Skip it entirely, year after year, and you get the classic 5-year-old lavender. A ring of woody legs with tufts on top and a dead cave in the middle. That plant was not old. It was just never cut in time. One more thing while your shears are out. Do not throw the trimmings on the compost heap yet. Set a handful of the best stems aside in a jar of water in the shade. We are coming back to them at the end of this video, and you are going to be glad you saved them. Number 3. Escape the watering trap. Now for the part of the playbook where doing what feels caring is exactly what does the damage. It is one of the hottest stretches of the year. Everything in the garden is gasping, so you drag the hose around every evening and give the lavender a drink along with everything else. Because leaving it out feels like neglect? Here is the problem. Lavender's #1 killer in high summer is not heat, and it is not drought. It is moisture sitting around the crown and the roots in warm weather. Warm plus wet is the exact recipe for the root and crown rots that take a lavender from silver and healthy to gray and collapsed in about 2 weeks. And by the time you see it wilting, most people read the wilt as thirst and water it even more, which finishes the job. A wilting lavender in August is far more likely drowning than dying of thirst. So here is the late summer watering rule for lavender in the ground. An established plant, meaning anything in its second year or beyond, gets nothing on a normal week. Its roots run deep, and it was built for hillsides that bake all summer. Only in a genuine extended heat wave, think 2 weeks or more with no rain and punishing temperatures, do you step in, and then you do it once. A slow, deep soak at the base of the plant, early in the morning, water on the soil and never on the foliage. Then you walk away again. First-year plants that went in this spring are the exception. Their roots are still shallow, so they get that deep morning soak roughly once a week in dry spells. And lavender in pots is its own case entirely because containers dry out fast. Potted plants may need water every few days in August heat, but the same rules apply. Morning at the base and only when the top few centimeters of compost are actually dry to your finger. Evening watering, the thing most of us default to, is the worst option for lavender because the plant then sits damp through the whole night, and damp. Still night air is exactly what fungal problems are waiting for. Number 4. Swap the mulch for gravel. While we are down at the base of the plant, check what is touching the crown because this next step takes 2 minutes and saves plants every single summer. If you mulched your beds in spring with bark, compost, or wood chips, which is great practice for most of the garden, that organic mulch is now doing quiet damage where it touches your lavender. It holds moisture against the stems and keeps the crown humid, which is the opposite of what this plant wants in late summer. So pull any organic mulch back until there is a clear, bare ring around the base of the plant, about a handspan wide. And if you want to go one better, fill that ring with a layer of gravel, grit, or coarse sand instead. Mediterranean growers have done this forever, and it works 3 ways at once. It dries the crown fast after rain. It stops soil splashing up onto the lower stems, and it bounces light and warmth back up into the plant, which lavender genuinely loves. It even makes the silver foliage look sharper against the stone, so you get a better looking bed as a side effect. Number 5. Lock away the fertilizer. Next, the thing your lavender needs you to not do in August. Feed it. This one runs against every instinct because late summer is when we are feeding the tomatoes, feeding the roses, feeding the pots. But lavender flowers best on lean soil, and its scent, the oils in the leaves and flowers, actually concentrates when the plant grows slightly hard and slow. Give it fertilizer in late summer, and you get a flush of soft, sappy, dark green growth that flops open, resists nothing, and carries less fragrance. Worse, that soft growth will not harden before winter, and it is the first thing the frost kills. If your lavender flowered poorly this year and you suspect the soil, make a note and deal with it next spring with a little grit worked in and maybe a whisper of low nitrogen feed. But in August, the kindest thing in your fertilizer cupboard is the closed door. Number 6. Open up the airflow. There is one more environmental check before we get to your free plants, and almost nobody does it. Airflow. Gardens fill out by late summer. The perennials you planted a polite distance from your lavender back in April have flopped over it. The ornamental grasses are leaning in, and suddenly, your lavender is sitting in a green pocket of still, humid air. Lavender wants moving air around it the way it wants sun above it. So take 5 minutes and clear a margin. Cut back or stake up whatever is crowding it. so air can move freely through and around the plant. In humid summer climates especially, this one adjustment does as much to prevent disease as anything you could ever spray. Number 7. Turn your clippings into next year's plants. Now, those clippings you saved in the jar. August is still prime time for lavender cuttings because the stems are what growers call semi-ripe, firm enough at the base not to rot, soft enough at the tip to still root readily. Pick stems about the length of your hand with no flower on them, strip the leaves off the bottom half, and push each one about 2/3 deep into a pot of gritty compost. Regular compost cut half and half with sand or perlite is perfect. Water them once, then park the pot somewhere bright but out of direct afternoon sun. And keep the compost just barely moist. In 4 to 6 weeks, a gentle tug will meet resistance, and that resistance is roots. Every one of those is a free lavender plant for next spring. For a hedge, for pots, for gifts, grown from material you were about to throw away. The August cut pays for itself twice. So, there it is, the full August playbook in order. Read the spikes and act now if half of them have faded or faded long ago. Make the one cut, spent spikes plus the top third of the green growth, never into brown wood, shaped into a dome. Put the hose down unless you are in a real heat wave, and when you do water, make it a deep morning soak at the base. Pull the organic mulch off the crown and replace it with gravel. Lock the fertilizer away until spring. Open up the airflow and turn your trimmings into next year's plants. None of it is difficult. All of it is timed and the clock runs out this month. If this cleared things up for you, do 2 quick things for me. First, drop a comment telling me where you are gardening and whether your lavender has faded yet, because I read everyone and it helps me make videos that match what is actually happening in your gardens. Second, hit that like and subscribe button, because here at BloomProof, this is exactly what we do. We take the plants everyone struggles with and show you they were only ever misunderstood. And if you want your lavender thriving for years, not just this season, watch our 5 secrets to growing lavender that never dies, popping up on screen right now. Until next time, get out there, get your hands dirty, and grow something that lasts.